The research vessel Seeker moved slowly through the darkness of space, its sensors scanning the dead planet below. Commander Choi Yuna stood on the bridge, watching the data streams flowing across multiple screens. Epsilon 7 was a lifeless world now, but something had lived here once. Something had built cities and monuments that still stood after countless thousands of years. "Commander, we're picking up the same energy signature," Ensign Kim Dae-ho called out from his station. "It's faint, but it's definitely there. Underground, about 2 kilometers down. Match it against the database," Yuna ordered. A moment later, Dae-ho's eyes went wide. Perfect match to the ruins on New Sol Colony, and the ones on Earth. "Commander, this is the 18th world with identical structures." Professor Nam Junho pushed himself up from his chair. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes, but right now those eyes burned with excitement. 18 worlds. 18 identical architectural signatures across 300 light-years of space. This isn't coincidence. This is proof. Yuna nodded slowly. "Prepare a landing team. Full archaeological equipment. And Junho, make sure we bring the deep core scanners. If there's technology down there, I want it found." 2 hours later, the team stood in a massive underground chamber. Their lights cut through the darkness, revealing walls covered in symbols and patterns. The ceiling stretched up 30 meters overhead, supported by columns that had stood for ages beyond counting. Professor Nam ran his hand along one wall, his fingers tracing the carved symbols. "These are not random decorations," he said softly. "These are words. A language. If only we could read it." Hyun Seok-jin, the team's artificial intelligence specialist, was setting up equipment near the center of the chamber. "I'm detecting a data core," he said. "It's old. Really old, but it still has power." "How is that possible?" Yuna asked, walking over to him. "Nothing can hold a charge for more than a few hundred years." "This can," Seok-jin replied. "The technology is beyond anything we understand. It's like trying to explain quantum computing to someone from the Stone Age." He looked up at her. "Commander, whoever built this was far more advanced than any current species in the galaxy. Can you access it?" Professor Nam asked, joining them. "I can try," Seok-jin said. He connected his portable computer to the ancient core and began working. Lines of code scrolled across his screen, most of it making no sense. He worked for an hour, then 2. The rest of the team explored the chamber, taking measurements and photographs. Finally, Seok-jin made a sound of triumph. "I'm in. The security is incredible, but I found a way through. The data is starting to decode." Everyone gathered around his screen. At first, they saw only symbols, the same ones from the walls. Then slowly, impossibly, those symbols began to transform into Korean letters. The computer was translating automatically. "How is it doing that?" Yuna breathed. "I don't know," Seok-jin admitted. "It's like the core is reading my computer and adapting to our language. Like it was designed to be understood by whoever found it." The first complete message appeared on the screen. Professor Nam read it aloud, his voice shaking. "To those who come after. To those who wake in darkness and wonder who they were. This archive holds the memory of what was lost. This is the record of the first power. This is the history of humanity's great civilization." Silence fell over the chamber. No one moved. No one breathed. "That's impossible," Yuna whispered. "Humanity evolved on Earth. We've traced our genetic history back millions of years." "Keep reading," Seok-jin said quietly. More text appeared. It spoke of an empire that had spanned 100,000 star systems. It told of humanity's rise from a single world to masters of the galaxy. It described how humans had found the galaxy empty and had taken it upon themselves to prepare it for other life. They had terraformed thousands of worlds, creating environments where primitive species could evolve and grow. "We were the first," Professor Nam said softly. "We were the only species to achieve faster-than-light travel naturally. Every other species in the galaxy exists on worlds that we prepared for them." The data core continued revealing its secrets. It showed star maps, impossibly detailed maps of the entire galaxy. Every system was marked and labeled. And in the center, marked with a special symbol, was a small yellow star, Earth's sun. "The empire was centered on Earth," Ensign Dae-ho said. "Our homeworld was the capital of a galactic civilization." "What happened?" Yuna asked. "Why don't we remember any of this?" The answer came in the next section of data. It spoke of something called the Collapse. An enemy had come from beyond the galaxy, an invasion force of terrible power. Ancient humanity had fought them with everything they had. The war had lasted decades. In the end, humanity had won, but at a terrible cost. To defeat the invaders, ancient humans had activated a weapon of last resort. It was called the Reset Protocol. It had destroyed the enemy completely, but it had also destroyed humanity's infrastructure. Power grids failed. Faster than light communication stopped. Ships fell from the sky. Within months, the great civilization had fallen into chaos. The survivors on each world were cut off from each other. Professor Nam read. Without technology, without support, most colonies failed. The few that survived, including Earth, fell back to primitive levels. Within generations, all memory of the great civilization was lost. 75,000 years ago, Seokjin said, checking the dates in the data. This all happened 75,000 years ago. Humanity has been rebuilding from scratch ever since. Yuna sat down heavily on a piece of rubble. The Council knows, she said. They have to know. These ruins exist throughout the galaxy. They've been studying them for thousands of years. They've been lying to us, Deho said angrily. They treat us like primitive newcomers, but we built the civilization they're living in. Not us, Professor Nam corrected gently. Our ancestors. We are not them. We built our current civilization on our own, from nothing, with no memory of what came before. But the ruins are ours, Yuna said. The technology is ours. By law of heritage, the Council will never acknowledge that, Seokjin interrupted. Think about it. They've built their entire civilization on the foundation humanity laid. If they admit the truth, it changes everything. It means they owe their very existence to us. Professor Nam nodded slowly. More than that. It means humanity isn't a newcomer to be dismissed. We're the original power, the first and oldest civilization, even if we forgot ourselves for a while. We need to tell Earth, Yuna decided. We need to tell everyone. This changes everything. The Council will try to stop us, Deho warned. Let them try, Yuna said firmly. She turned to Seokjin. Can you copy all this data? Already doing it, he replied. Every byte, every image, every star map. As the data transferred, Professor Nam continued exploring the chamber. In a far corner, he found something that made him call out to the others. It was a memorial wall covered in symbols. When he ran his portable scanner over it, the translation appeared on his screen. It was a list of names. Thousands and thousands of names, humans who had died in the final battle against the invaders. Heroes who had sacrificed everything to save the galaxy. They died protecting everyone, Nam said quietly. They saved the species that would eventually evolve in the galaxy. Species that would one day sit in judgment of humanity and call us primitive. Commander Yuna stood beside him reading the names. Then we need to make sure they're remembered. We need to make sure the truth comes out. The data transfer completed. Seokjin packed up his equipment carefully. Commander, there's one more thing. According to this data, there are thousands of facilities like this scattered across the galaxy, all of them waiting to be found. All of them holding pieces of humanity's history and pieces of humanity's technology, Yuna added. Technology far beyond what the Council has. The implications hung heavy in the air. Ancient humanity had been powerful enough to defeat an extragalactic invasion. Their weapons, their ships, their science, all of it was somewhere out there waiting to be rediscovered. We're going home, Yuna decided. We're going to tell Earth everything. And then we're going to decide what to do about it. The team returned to the Seeker and set course for Earth. Behind them, the ancient facility went dark again. Its secrets shared after 75,000 years of silence. But across the galaxy, in thousands of other locations, similar facilities waited. And soon, very soon, they would wake up too. Admiral Han Sujin stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface, staring at the holographic display that showed humanity's 200 star systems. Each one was marked with a small blue dot. It looked so small compared to the vast galaxy surrounding them, but now she knew the truth. Once humanity had controlled not hundreds but hundreds of thousands of systems. The Council has to know we've discovered something, Director An Minseo said, pacing back and forth. She ran Earth's intelligence service, and right now her networks were reporting concerning information. 3 of our colony ships have gone missing in the past month. Ships that were using established safe routes. Accidents? Admiral Han asked, though she already knew the answer. Not accidents, Director An replied grimly. Our investigation found debris from the first ship. It was destroyed by weapons fire. Council weapons, specifically Velcrin technology. They're sabotaging us, Captain Lee Minho said. He had returned from the Council station and was now part of the inner circle that knew the full truth. They're trying to slow our expansion. More than that, Director Ahn said. They're afraid of us. They've been monitoring our archaeological work. They know we're getting close to understanding our past. Admiral Han turned away from the display. Has Dr. O finished her analysis of the genetic data from the ruins? She has, came a voice from the doorway. Dr. O Ji-yeon walked in carrying a tablet. Her face showed exhaustion, but also excitement. And you're not going to believe what I found. She pulled up a genetic sequence on the large display. This is modern human DNA, standard baseline. Now look at this. Another sequence appeared beside it. This is DNA extracted from organic material in the ruins. DNA that's 75,000 years old. They look identical, Captain Lee observed. Almost identical, Dr. O corrected. There are differences. Small ones. But here's what's interesting. She highlighted several sections. Modern human DNA contains dormant sequences. Genetic code that doesn't express itself. That appears to serve no purpose. Scientists have always wondered why we carry this junk DNA. It's not junk, Admiral Han guessed. It's not junk, Dr. O confirmed. It's a lock. A genetic lock. Ancient humans encoded information directly into their own DNA. Information that would pass down through generations, even if civilization fell. Even if everything else was forgotten. What kind of information? Director Ahn asked. Access codes, Dr. O said simply. Modern humans can activate ancient technology just by being near it. Our genetic code acts as a key. The room fell silent. The implications were staggering. Show me, Admiral Han ordered. An hour later, a small team stood in the underground facility beneath Mars. Humanity had discovered it years ago, but had never been able to activate it. The massive doors were sealed. The systems appeared dead. Until now, everyone had assumed it was simply too old, too damaged to function. Captain Lee stepped forward, approaching a console near the sealed doors. The moment his hand touched the surface, something changed. Lights flickered on. The console glowed with soft blue illumination. Ancient systems that had slept for 75,000 years suddenly woke up. Welcome, a voice said in perfect Korean. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Genetic profile confirmed. Human designation recognized. Awakening primary systems. The massive doors began to open. They moved smoothly, silently, as if they had been closed for minutes instead of millennia. Beyond them lay a chamber the size of a city. Equipment filled the space. Technology beyond anything modern humans had created. At the center stood a command platform. Captain Lee walked forward as if in a dream. The others followed, their footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. When Lee stepped onto the command platform, holographic displays appeared all around him. They showed the solar system, then the local cluster, then the entire galaxy. Command authority recognized, the voice said. Loading archives. Stand by. What is this place? Dr. O whispered. This is a command center. The voice answered her as if it had been listening. One of 4,817 such facilities built by the First Power. This facility serves as regional headquarters for Sol Sector. The First Power, Admiral Han repeated. Humanity. Correct, the voice confirmed. This archive contains complete records of humanity's civilization, including technological specifications, strategic data, and historical records. All information is now accessible to authorized personnel. All modern humans carry authorization. Holographic images appeared showing ancient Earth at the height of its power. Cities of incredible beauty covered the continents. Ships that seemed too large to fly filled the skies. The oceans gleamed clean and bright. We were magnificent, Captain Lee said softly. The images shifted, showing humanity spreading to the stars. They showed the careful terraforming of thousands of worlds. They showed humans working peacefully, building a civilization meant to last forever. Your ancestors took responsibility for the galaxy, the voice explained. When they achieved faster-than-light travel, they found the galaxy empty of intelligent life. Rather than exploit this, they chose to prepare worlds where other species could evolve. They worked for thousands of years, helping life take hold across the galaxy. Why? Director Ahn asked. Why help species that didn't exist yet? Because they believed the galaxy should be full of diversity and life, the voice replied. Because they believed no single species should control everything. Because they were capable of great wisdom. The images shifted again, showing something darker. Ships appeared that were wrong somehow. Their designs were twisted and alien. Not alien like the Council species, but alien in a deeper way. These ships came from beyond the galaxy itself. The Devourers, the voice said, and somehow it conveyed sadness. They came from another galaxy. They consumed everything in their path. Humanity fought them for 37 years. The holographic battle played out before them. It was terrible to watch. Thousands of ships destroyed. Entire worlds burned. Humanity fought with everything they had, but the enemy kept coming. In the end, your ancestors made a choice. The voice continued. They activated the reset protocol. It was a weapon that would destroy the Devourers completely, but it would also destroy humanity's infrastructure. They knew their civilization would fall. They did it anyway to save the galaxy. And it worked? Admiral Han asked. It worked, the voice confirmed. The Devourers were eliminated. But humanity paid the price. Cut off from support, most colonies failed. The survivors fell back to primitive levels. It took 75,000 years for you to rebuild what was lost. Captain Lee looked at the display showing the current galaxy. The Council species. They evolved on worlds we prepared for them? Correct. The Velcrin homeworld was terraformed by human engineers 900,000 years ago. The Lumini evolved on a world modified 82,000 years ago. All current Council species exist because of humanity's work. And they know this? Director An demanded. The oldest species know. The Lumini have records going back far enough to remember humanity at its peak. Others have discovered the truth through archaeology. They have chosen not to share this information. Why? Dr. O asked. Fear, the voice said simply. They built their civilization on humanity's foundation. They fear what would happen if humanity remembered and reclaimed its legacy. They fear being supplanted by the original power. Admiral Han stepped up onto the command platform beside Captain Lee. What capabilities does this facility have? This facility can manufacture ships, weapons, and equipment to ancient specifications. It can coordinate defense networks across 10,000 systems. It can access and control all other human facilities within its sector. But Admiral, you should know something important. What? Han asked. Your ancestors designed all systems with specific safeguards. Ancient technology cannot be used for conquest or aggression. It responds only to defensive needs. It was built to protect, never to attack. Good, Han said firmly. We're not conquerors. We never were. Warning, the voice suddenly said. This facility is transmitting an activation signal to all other human facilities within range. This is standard protocol when a command center comes online. Other species will detect this signal. Director An pulled out her communication device. It was already buzzing with incoming messages. Her face went pale as she read them. Admiral, we have a problem, she said. The signal is spreading across the galaxy. Ancient facilities are activating everywhere. On our worlds, on Council worlds, on neutral worlds. Everyone will know something is happening. Can we stop the signal? Lee asked. Negative, the voice replied. The signal is automatic and necessary. It allows all facilities to synchronize and coordinate. Admiral Han took a deep breath. Then the secret is out. The Council will know we've activated ancient technology. They'll know we're learning the truth. As if to confirm her words, Director An held up her device. Admiral, we're receiving emergency transmissions from our ambassadors. The Council is calling an emergency session. They're demanding we explain what we've done. And beyond that, she continued, her voice tight. We're picking up military movements. Velcrin warships are mobilizing. They're moving toward our border systems. Captain Lee looked at Admiral Han. What do we do? Han stood silent for a moment, thinking. The emergency council session was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. All 7 council members were present, but this time they were not alone. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the observation galleries. News of the ancient facilities activating had spread across every inhabited world. Everyone wanted answers. Ambassador Yu Hein stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by hostile stares. She had been given only hours to travel from Earth to this meeting. Around her, the air practically vibrated with tension. Explain yourself, Counselor Vexthar demanded, his forearms crossed over his massive chest. Human facilities are activating across the galaxy. Ancient technology is coming online in systems throughout Council space. This is an act of war. It is not, Yu replied calmly. We did not order those facilities to activate. They responded automatically when we accessed a command center on Mars. We had no knowledge this would happen. You expect us to believe that? Another council member hissed. This one resembled a large serpent with multiple heads. You deliberately accessed ancient technology. You knew what would happen. We accessed a facility on our own world, you countered. A facility built by our ancestors. We have every right to our own heritage. Your ancestors? Vexthar's laugh was bitter and cold. You claim these ruins belong to humanity? Preposterous. Humans are newcomers. You have been spacefaring for barely a century. That is the lie you have been telling, you said, her voice growing stronger. But it is a lie, and everyone in this chamber knows it. The ruins are human. They were built by our ancestors 75,000 years ago. Humanity was the first power. We built the civilization you now live in. The chamber erupted into chaos. Hundreds of voices raised in shock, anger, and disbelief. Vexithar slammed one massive fist on his throne, and the sound echoed like thunder. You have no proof of these claims, he shouted over the noise. We have all the proof we need, you replied. The ruins contain human DNA. The technology responds to human genetic codes. The archives tell the complete story. Humanity seeded the galaxy with life. We prepared the worlds where your species evolved. Lies, Vexthar roared. They are not lies, a quiet voice said. Everyone turned. Grand Matriarch Sylvana of the Lumini had spoken. She was ancient, even by Lumini standards. She had lived for 8,000 years and was the oldest being in the chamber. Matriarch? Vexthar said, uncertainty creeping into his voice. Sylvana rose slowly from her throne. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of millennia. I have lived long enough to remember the truth. My ancestors kept records that go back further than any other species. We have always known about humanity. We have always known they were the first power. The silence was absolute. Then why did you hide it? Xiao demanded. Because we were afraid, Sylvana admitted. When we first detected humans rebuilding their civilization, we faced a choice. Tell them the truth and accept that they might reclaim their legacy, or hide the truth and hope they never remembered. The council chose to hide it. That was 50 years ago, you said. You've been watching us that entire time? Longer, Sylvana confirmed. We have monitored Earth for 3,000 years, waiting to see if humanity would rise again. When you finally achieved faster-than-light travel, we called this council together and made our decision. We would treat you as newcomers. We would limit your expansion. We would prevent you from learning the truth. You had no right, you said, her voice shaking with anger. We had no right, Sylvana agreed. But we were afraid. We built our civilization on foundations you laid. We live in a galaxy you prepared for us. If humanity returned to power, what would happen to us? Would you reclaim everything? Would you see us as children living in your house without permission? So you tried to keep us weak, you said. You sabotaged our colony ships. You blocked our expansion. You treated us with contempt to keep us from asking too many questions. That was primarily the Velkrins' doing, Sylvana said, looking at Vexthar. They saw humanity as a threat from the beginning. Vexithar stood, his massive form towering over everyone. Of course we did. Do you think we are fools? The ancient records are clear. Humanity at their peak commanded weapons that could destroy stars. They had ships that could cross the galaxy in days. They could reshape worlds with their technology. If they returned to that power, no species in this galaxy could stand against them. We don't want to stand against you, you shouted. We never did. We came here in peace. Peace? Vexthar's laugh was harsh. You are activating ancient weapons across the galaxy. You are claiming ownership of technology beyond our understanding. You speak of being the first power. These are not the words of a peaceful species. We are not our ancestors, you said firmly. Yes, we are learning our history. Yes, we are accessing our heritage. But we are not them. We rebuilt our civilization from nothing. We learned to value cooperation and peace because we had to start over. We are not conquerors, prove it, Vexthar challenged. Deactivate the facilities. Surrender the ancient technology. If you truly come in peace, give up these weapons. No, you said quietly. Vexthar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Then you prove my point. You want the power. We want the ability to defend ourselves, you corrected. Because you have shown us we need it. You sabotaged our ships. You lied to us. You treated us like children to be controlled. We will not give up our own technology because you demand it. Then you leave us no choice, Vexthar said. He raised one hand and the chamber's displays lit up with images. They showed Velcrin warships, thousands of them, assembled at the borders of human space. We cannot allow humanity to threaten galactic peace. We cannot allow you to claim weapons you might use against us. You would start a war? Yu asked, disbelief in her voice. We would contain a threat, Vexthar replied. Humanity will cease all activation of ancient technology. You will open your facilities to council inspection. You will limit your territorial expansion to your current systems. These are our terms, and if we refuse? Yu asked, though she already knew the answer. Then we will enforce compliance by any means necessary. Back on Nexus Prime Station, in the human diplomatic compound, Lieutenant Shin Yunji watched the security displays with growing concern. Armed figures were gathering outside the compound walls. They were mercenaries from a dozen different species, all hired by the council. They're going to attack, she told her team. Prep all defenses. Send an emergency signal to Earth, and get the civilians to the secure bunker. Lieutenant, we have maybe 30 soldiers here, one of her officers said. There are hundreds of them out there. Then we'll make those 30 count, Shin replied grimly. She pulled up the compound's defense grid. It was designed to hold off a small assault force, not an army. But it would have to do. The attack came an hour later. Mercenaries rushed the gates using plasma cutters to break through. Shin's soldiers fell back to prepared positions, firing carefully to conserve ammunition. The compound's automated defenses activated, but the attackers were well equipped and experienced. They're breaking through the east wall, someone shouted. Shin ran to that position, firing her weapon at the advancing mercenaries. Beside her, her soldiers fought with determination, but they were being overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Lieutenant, we can't hold them, her second-in-command said. We need to fall back to the inner compound. Do it, Shin ordered. Fighting retreat. Cover the civilians. As her team fell back, fighting every step of the way, she thought about Ambassador Yu standing alone in the council chamber, facing the hostility of the entire galaxy. They were both in impossible situations, but neither of them would surrender. In the council chamber, Yu stood tall despite the threats surrounding her. You want to know if humanity is peaceful? She asked, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast room. Then watch what we do next. We have access to weapons you cannot imagine. We could strike back at every species that has wronged us, but we won't, because we are better than that. Brave words, Vexthar said mockingly, but words mean nothing. Only actions matter, and your actions show you are claiming power. Our actions show we are reclaiming our history, Yu corrected. There is a difference. We are not trying to conquer. We are simply refusing to be controlled. The result is the same, Vexthar replied. An armed and powerful humanity is a threat to everyone. Then you give us no choice but to defend ourselves, Yu said sadly. We hope for friendship. We hoped for cooperation. But if you force us to choose between submission and survival, we will choose survival. So be it, Vexthar declared. This council declares humanity a threat to galactic peace. Economic sanctions will be imposed immediately. Military containment will begin within the day. And if humanity resists, we will respond with force. As the council members voted to approve these measures, alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the station. Every display in the chamber flickered and changed, showing the same thing. A new signal had appeared on long-range sensors. Something was coming from beyond the galaxy, something massive, something ancient and terrible, and it was heading straight toward inhabited space. Grand Matriarch Sylvana stared at the displays, her ancient face going pale with recognition and fear. No, she whispered. Not again. Not after all this time. Admiral Han Sujin watched the tactical display with a heavy heart. 3 human colonies were under attack by Velcrin forces. The defense stations were holding for now, but they would not last long. The Velcrin had committed 5 full battle fleets to the assault. It was an overwhelming force. Admiral, the defense grid at New Busan is requesting permission to activate ancient weapons, her communications officer reported. They say they can't hold without them. Han hesitated. The ancient facilities on those worlds had awakened. Their weapons were online and ready. With a single command, she could unleash firepower that would sweep the Velcrin fleets from space. But once that line was crossed, there would be no going back. Tell them to activate shields only, she ordered. No offensive weapons. Not yet. On the display, energy barriers appeared around the human colonies. The Velcrin weapons fire splashed harmlessly against them. The shields were ancient human technology, far stronger than anything modern engineers could build. They would hold indefinitely. "Admiral, the Velcrin are intensifying their attack," another officer reported. "They're bringing in more ships." "Let them," Han replied. "We're not here to fight. We're here to defend." There's a difference. Across human space, the same scene played out. Velcrin fleets attacked. Ancient shields activated. No human colonies fell, but no human weapons fired back. It was a statement being written in actions rather than words. Humanity would not attack, but it also would not surrender. Then everything changed. Captain Lee Minho was leading a patrol fleet near the outer edge of human territory when his sensors detected something impossible. A fleet was approaching from intergalactic space. Not a small fleet, not a large fleet, an armada beyond counting. "Get me a ship count," he ordered, his voice tight. "Scanning," his sensor officer replied. Then she looked up, her face pale. "Sir, I'm reading over 10,000 capital ships, hundreds of thousands of smaller vessels, and they're all using technology signatures that match the ancient archives." "The Devourers," Lee breathed. "They've come back." He immediately sent an emergency broadcast to every inhabited system in the galaxy. The warning was simple and terrifying. The ancient enemy had returned. In the council chamber, chaos erupted for the second time that day. Every species in the galaxy had just received the same warning. The displays showed images of the approaching fleet. Ships that looked wrong, designed by minds that did not think like any known species. "They're heading for the Velcrin home system," Grand Matriarch Sylvana said, her voice hollow. "They remember. After 75,000 years, they remember who helped defeat them last time." Counselor Vexthar stared at the display in horror. "How many ships?" "More than we have," another council member said quietly. "More than all of us combined." "Then we are finished," Vexthar said, sinking back into his throne. "Nothing can stop them." "Something did before," Ambassador Yu said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. "Humanity stopped them. Our ancestors fought them for 37 years and won. At the cost of their entire civilization," Sylvana reminded her. "Are modern humans prepared to make the same sacrifice?" Yu stood silent for a moment. Then she activated her communication device. "This is Ambassador Yu to Earth Command. Admiral Han, are you receiving?" "I'm here." Han's voice came through clearly. "I've seen the threat." "What are your orders?" "Can we stop them?" Yu asked. "The ancient archives say yes," Han replied. "We have access to the defense network, the same weapons that destroyed them before. But Ambassador, I need to be clear about something. If we activate those weapons, we'll reveal the full extent of ancient human power. Every species in the galaxy will see what we're capable of. It might make them fear us even more." "And if we don't activate them?" Yu asked, though she already knew the answer. "Then the Devourers will destroy everything," Han said simply, starting with the Velcrin homeworld and working their way through every inhabited system. "Billions will die." Yu looked at the council members watching her. She saw fear in their faces. Fear of the Devourers, fear of what humanity might do. "Fear of making the wrong choice, Admiral Han," she said clearly. "Activate the defense network. Protect every inhabited system in the galaxy. Not just ours. All of them." "Understood," Han replied. "One more thing, Ambassador. The ancient protocols require me to ask, are we defending as the first power? Or are we defending as one species among many?" Yu smiled slightly. "We're defending because it's the right thing to do. That's what the first power would have done. That's what we'll do now." Across the galaxy, ancient facilities came fully online for the first time in 75 millennia. Weapons that had been sleeping since before any current species existed awakened to face the threat that had nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. The Devourer fleet reached the Velcrin home system first. They attacked without warning, their weapons tearing through the orbital defenses with terrible efficiency. The Velcrin military, so confident and powerful when attacking human colonies, found themselves helpless against this ancient enemy. Then the ancient defense network activated. Ships appeared from nowhere, emerging from hidden stations throughout the system. They were not like modern vessels. They were larger, faster, more powerful, and they were fully automated, controlled by artificial intelligence that had been waiting for this moment. The ancient human fleet engaged the Devourers with precision and overwhelming force. Weapons that could disintegrate matter at the atomic level, shields that could withstand the heat of a star, faster than light drives that let them move like ghosts through space. Within an hour, the Devourer fleet was in full retreat. Within 2 hours, it was destroyed. The same scene played out across the galaxy. Wherever the Devourers tried to attack, the ancient defense network was there to stop them. Humanity's 75,000-year-old technology proved superior to anything the Devourers had developed in the time since. But Admiral Han held back the most powerful weapons. She used only enough force to defeat the enemy, nothing more. She was making a point. Humanity could destroy, but it chose to protect. It could conquer, but it chose to defend. On Nexus Prime Station, Lieutenant Shin Yunji watched in amazement as ancient defense systems activated around the station itself. Automated turrets appeared from hidden compartments in the walls. Energy shields enveloped the entire structure. The mercenaries attacking the human compound suddenly found themselves facing weapons far beyond their ability to counter. "Stand down," Shin ordered over the loudspeakers. "Drop your weapons and you will not be harmed." The mercenaries took one look at the ancient weapons pointing at them, and surrendered immediately. As the battle ended, Captain Lee brought his fleet back to Earth. He was exhausted but filled with a strange pride. Humanity had faced its greatest test and had proven itself worthy of its legacy. "Captain Lee," came Admiral Han's voice over the communication system. "The Council is requesting a meeting. All species. They want to discuss the formation of a new galactic government. Will humanity be a part of it?" Lee asked. "Not just a part," Han replied. "They're asking us to be the guardians, the protectors. The first power not by conquest but by choice." In the council chamber, Ambassador Yu stood before the assembled representatives once again, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. There was respect in the eyes watching her, and perhaps a little fear, but it was a different kind of fear. Not fear of what humanity would do to them, but fear of what would happen without humanity to protect them. War Master Krovak of the Velkrin stood and approached her. The massive warrior knelt, bringing his eyes level with hers. "Humanity saved my homeworld," he said gruffly. "Saved my people. After we attacked you, after we called you inferior. You saved us anyway." "We would have done it for anyone," Yu replied simply. "I know," Krovak said. "That's why we were wrong to fear you. True power is not in the ability to destroy. It's in the choice to protect." He bowed his head. "The Velkrin Empire offers formal alliance and formal apology for our actions." One by one, other species did the same, not because they were forced, but because they understood now. Humanity was not claiming power through strength. They were earning respect through their choices. Grand Matriarch Sylvana approached last. "I am 8,000 years old," she said quietly. "I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have seen peace and war, but I have never seen anything like what humanity showed us today. You had the power to take revenge, to punish us for our lies and our attacks. Instead, you saved us, all of us. Our ancestors made the same choice," you said. "They could have kept the galaxy for themselves. Instead, they prepared it for others. We are simply following their example." "Then perhaps," Sylvana said slowly, "humanity has not just remembered what they were. Perhaps you have become something better. Your ancestors were the first power through achievement. You are the first power through wisdom." A new galactic union was formed that day, not based on military strength or economic power, but on cooperation and mutual respect. Humanity took its place not as rulers, but as guardians. The ancient defense network would protect all species. The ancient technology would be shared with all who needed it, but humanity also set limits. The most powerful weapons would not be given to anyone. The ability to destroy would remain locked behind genetic codes. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a sound that echoed through the vast hall. Captain Lee Minho walked forward with steady steps, his uniform crisp and clean. Behind him came Ambassador Park Ji-woo, a woman whose calm face showed no fear. Dr. Kang Soo-min followed them, carrying a data tablet close to her chest. They were the first humans to ever stand in this place. The chamber was enormous. Its walls stretched up so high that the ceiling disappeared into darkness. Strange lights floated in the air without any visible support. 7 massive thrones sat in a semicircle at the far end of the hall. On each throne sat a being unlike anything most humans had ever seen. The largest throne held Counselor Vexthar of the Velkrin species. He was twice the height of a human, with dark blue skin covered in scales that caught the light. His forearms rested on the throne, each one thick with muscle. His eyes were golden and cold as they looked down at the humans. "So these are the newcomers," Vexthar said. His voice was deep and filled with something that sounded like boredom. "The ones who claim to have mastered faster-than-light travel." Ambassador Park stepped forward and bowed her head slightly. "Honored counselors, humanity greets you with respect and hopes for friendship. We come in peace to join the greater galactic community." A sound like laughter came from another throne. The being there looked almost like a floating jellyfish made of light. "Join us? Little species, do you know how long we have ruled this galaxy? 50,000 years. Your entire civilization is younger than some of our buildings." Captain Minho felt his jaw tighten, but he stayed silent. This was the ambassador's duty, not his. Park Jiwoo smiled gently. "We understand we are young. That is why we come to learn. We have much to discover about the galaxy. How many systems do you control?" Vexthar asked, leaning forward slightly. "How large is your territory?" "We have established colonies in 200 star systems," Park answered with pride in her voice. The silence that followed was worse than laughter. Then several of the council members did laugh. Vexthar's mouth opened wide, showing rows of sharp teeth. 200 systems, he repeated slowly. The Velcrin Empire spans 40,000 systems. The Lumini Collective controls 35,000. Even the smallest member of this council holds 5,000 worlds. He waved one hand dismissively. "You are not a civilization. You are barely a footnote." Dr. Kang Sumin spoke up suddenly, surprising everyone, including the other humans. "Honored counselors, we may be small now, but we have made important discoveries. We have found ruins on many of our worlds, ancient structures that predate any known civilization. We believe—" "Silence!" Vexthar's voice boomed through the chamber. "You are not recognized to speak, and we know of the ruins you mention. They are scattered throughout the galaxy. Their origin is unknown and unimportant. But they are important," Kang insisted, taking a step forward. Captain Minho put a hand on her shoulder to stop her, but she continued. "We have evidence that—" "Enough." This voice was different. It came from the smallest throne, where an ancient being sat wrapped in flowing robes. This was High Scholar Quindle of the Lumini, a species that could live for 10,000 years. When she spoke, even Vexthar fell silent. The human speaks out of turn, but perhaps we should hear what they wish to say about these ruins. Ambassador Park shot a grateful look at the ancient scholar. "Thank you, honored Quindal. Our scientists have studied the ruins extensively. We have found patterns in their design, symbols in their walls. We believe we have begun to understand their purpose and origin. We wish to share this information with the Council." "Denied," Vexthar said immediately. "The ruins are a matter of galactic security. Their secrets are not for species barely capable of leaving their home cluster. We will grant you probationary observer status. You may attend council sessions, but you have no vote and no voice in decisions. Perhaps in 1,000 years, if you prove yourselves worthy, we will consider full membership." Ambassador Park's face remained calm, but Captain Minho saw her hands clench into fists. "We accept the Council's decision," she said quietly. "May we at least share our research data on the ruins? It could benefit all species." "No," another council member said. "This one looked like a massive insect with crystal wings. You will submit all such data to Council archives where it will be reviewed. In perhaps a century, we will inform you of our findings." Dr. Kang looked like she wanted to argue more, but Ambassador Park raised her hand slightly. The meaning was clear. "Stay silent." "We thank the Council for their time and wisdom," Park said with another small bow. "We will await further instructions." "You are dismissed," Vexthar said, already turning his attention to another matter. The three humans walked back toward the massive doors. Their footsteps echoed in the quiet chamber. No one spoke until the doors closed behind them. Captain Minho let out a long breath. "That went poorly." "They're hiding something," Dr. Kang said immediately. Her voice shook slightly with anger and excitement. "Did you see how quickly they shut down any talk about the ruins?" "They know something," Ambassador Park nodded slowly. "Yes, they know and they don't want us to know." She looked at Kang. "What did you want to tell them?" Kang pulled up her data tablet and showed them an image. It displayed the council chamber they had just left, focusing on the architectural details of the walls and ceiling. Then she swiped to another image. This one showed ancient ruins on Earth, structures that had been discovered buried deep in the Sahara Desert, decades before humanity had reached for the stars. Captain Minho stared at the images. The patterns were identical. The symbols on the walls matched perfectly. The council chamber, he said slowly, is built in the same style as ruins from Earth? Not just Earth, Kang said, swiping through more images. I've visited 17 colony worlds. Every single one has ruins, and every single ruin has the exact same architectural style as this council station. She looked up at them, her eyes wide. Don't you understand? Someone built all of these places. Someone who traveled to Earth and every world we've colonized. Someone who existed before any current galactic species. And the council knows who. Ambassador Park finished quietly. They stood in the corridor outside the council chamber, the weight of this realization settling over them. What do we do now? Captain Minho asked. Ambassador Park straightened her uniform. Now we go home and we dig deeper. If the council won't tell us the truth, we'll find it ourselves. Dr. Kang smiled slightly. I've already sent research teams to 3 more colony worlds. If the pattern holds, we'll have enough data in 6 months to prove the connection. And then? Captain Minho asked. Then we come back, Park said firmly. And we demand answers. They walked together down the long corridor toward their ship, none of them knowing that their questions would shake the very foundation of galactic civilization. Behind them, in the council chamber, High Scholar Quindal watched their departure on a holographic screen. Her ancient eyes were sad. They are beginning to remember, she whispered to herself. After 75,000 years, humanity is finally beginning to remember.